We've lost our one character with a real personality. No. Why? We'll mourn Eyes Lost more in a couple of minutes. First up, I'd like to talk about a couple trailers that dropped the other day, and actually the other one a little bit ago. First up, the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. As many of you know from my last reaction to the first trailer, I didn't love Homecoming, and even though I think this new one looks very fun like Homecoming does, I'm not super holding my breath for a particularly deep movie or even really a great Spider-Man movie. Having said that, this trailer gives me some more hope. Also, spoilers for Avengers Endgame because they decided, fuck it. We are showing you the main drama of this movie, and we're going to have the guy who keeps spoiling everything, Tom Holland, warn you about spoilers. But yeah, no. So this trailer just flat out says a big aspect of this movie is Peter Parker dealing with the loss of Tony Stark. And as much as I didn't like how in Homecoming the only thing he seemed to care about was impressing Tony Stark, I think this is kind of an interesting aspect to the idea. Because when you think about it from the Spider-Man perspective, Peter Parker is the guy who the one time he didn't do everything he think he could, when he tried to be selfish and just didn't care, he lost his father. He lost Uncle Ben. And so this time around, he did everything he could. He fought every bad guy he could. He had the gauntlet in his hand for like longer than anybody. And like he fought as hard as he could, and his father figure died again. So, like, what does that do to him? How does that affect him? I'd love it if this movie has that personal drama of Peter just feeling defeated, feeling like he can't really do anything, and just kind of wanting a vacation to just sort of get his head straight and reevaluate who he is, and just sort of seeing that not get to happen. Especially, it would be really cool if, since, like, everyone's been gone 5 years, and then everyone comes back, and the world gets crazy for a while, and maybe Spider-Man is, like, doing overtime, like, trying to keep the city under control. That could be really cool, too, if he really just wants that vacation and it's taken away from him. I think that could be very Peter Parker, so I'm very interested to see that. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio looks really cool. Come on, guys. Does anyone really believe Mysterio's from an alternate dimension? He could be. That's very possible. And if it is, that might be cool, but it's Mysterio. His name is Mysterio. I'm pretty certain he's not, but it'll be cool to see. Other than that, it looks interesting. I'm interested, especially if, like, maybe they do sort of this, maybe growing father-son relationship between Peter and Happy could be interesting. But yeah, I'm curious. So then moving on, we get the Watchmen trailer. Okay, look. So when they first announced that we'd be getting a Watchmen TV show, I got real excited. I think Watchmen, and I know a lot of people think this, Watchmen is one of the most prolific comics ever written. It is a truly fantastic, haunting work, and the 2011 film is not terrible. It's not really even that bad. It's just that I think it kind of misses the point in the way I think Zack Snyder misses the point about comics in general. Watchmen is meant to be a deconstruction of the superhero genre in the same way Evangelion would be for the mech genre a few years later. And so naturally the comic has a lot of your comic book elements to it. It's got big crazy colors, it's got ridiculous costumes, it's got crazy plots going on. There's a reason the big final thing is a giant fake Cthulhu monster. It's because Alan Moore was trying to give you that feeling of when you look at this common comic book iconography and then you see it just sort of be skewed in this darker direction of dealing with things like like believing that we should become gods, or total anarchy, or not being able to get it up. I was trying to think of the proper word, but couldn't. But like all these darker themes then get sort of this interesting new take on them when you see them while still having that common imagery in your head. Madoka Magica also did this very well later on as well. I don't know why I'm thinking of these examples. But with the movie is just a typical gray Zack Snyder looking just bore fest. Like, the costumes aren't particularly interesting, the world isn't particularly interesting. I respect that it tries to get some of these darker elements, as we heard from Zack Snyder's bizarre comments a few weeks ago. He definitely cares more about superheroes as failures of human beings than actual heroes. So I think some of that is still intact, but I just feel like when you don't have that connection to what is supposed to be the bright, colorful kid world of comics, it leaves a lot of your stuff falling flat. Also, the action in that movie is fucking shit. So going into this new series, I was thinking to myself, okay, so if HBO gives this the Game of Thrones level of passion and dedication and trying to get the source material right while also updating it for the modern world, I think it could really work. And then I see this, that it was going to be a sequel to Watchmen, and all that hope died. Because the thing is, again, like I said, I never felt like we got the proper Watchmen adaptation, so I'm already being let down by that, but also, similar to Spider-Man Homecoming, if we're just sort of going off this impression that all the building blocks to what this has happened already, and we're just sort of picking up after the fact, what is there really to do? Like, if we don't have Rorschach, if we don't have Ozymandias, if we don't have that struggle, those ideas going on, then just what is this? Like, are we just going to constantly reference crap that happened already? Then I want to see the crap that happened already. Or is there just going to assume that everyone saw it and is sick of the source material and will just use that as an excuse to just do whatever the fuck they feel like and not really care about interpreting anything? Again, I have no reason to believe they'll do any of this. It might be the most interesting TV show of all time. But I just think the trailer looks like every other weird doomsday apocalypse cult group rising stuff. This could easily just be the next season of American Horror Story for all I know. But yeah, no, that is that. Although the idea of everyone having the Rorschach mask looks pretty cool. So then moving on, we finally get to Yugioh Vrains, and we lost you too soon. In that I just started calling you by your actual character name like 50 episodes ago. Yeah, this worked. This was a really good send-off for It had the right dramatic tension. I felt the loss. I felt the sadness. I mean, again, as I said at the beginning of the video, has been the consistently good thing about this show. He's always had a strong personality. He's always had a lot of likability. The actor has always been allowed to do a lot with the character. Everyone, as far as I can tell, just likes So to see him go like this, and to see him get this kind of painful death, we know that whenever the Ignises have parts of their bodies chopped off like that, it does hurt them. So, like, he loses his arms, he gets like a chunk of his head blown out at one point. Like, it's a gruesome death. And I like the way the episode built it up. This episode was definitely based around the idea of your final moments and making them count. Again, we know Emma and Akira will probably come back and they'll be relevant in the next arc, but we don't know if the Ignises will. I mean, I assume at some point before the show is over they will. Because remember, the majority of Earth's personality is still stuck inside Go. That sounds a little gay. Anyways, so yeah, I think he could come back, but like, the build-up to it, because we had two very different ideas for death scenes previous. First, we had Emma dying first, and this is important because it brings Emma's arc to a completion. Emma is someone who basically spent her whole life looking out for number one. And for most of this show, or at least the first half of it, that's all she cared about. Getting what she wanted, escaping on her own, getting ahead of everyone else. That is who this person is. But in that moment, instead of trying to figure a way out, instead of deciding, well, we're fucked, better run for my own life, she sacrifices herself for Akira. She gives up, potentially, her whole future. And it really feels like everything she went through with Aoi, and everything she's gone through watching Playmaker, and everything, it affected her, and I thought this was a nice, subtle, not in-your-face way to do it, and that is just take the gamble, sacrifice yourself to save someone else. And I also like when her body went down, it kind of did this weird waving, as if to really signify no one was home, and I thought that was a nice, creepy little thing. Also, fuck the pigeon and the frog, I'm glad they're dead. I hope they stay dead. And then we get Akira's passing, and Akira's passing I also quite like. First up, I didn't see it coming. I thought he was going to succeed and push that button and then die, but when you just hear that, like, stab sound, and I liked it felt like a real stab, I actually jumped for a second. It was like, oh god, my man. And then he's going down, and you see in his head, his last few thoughts are just like, losing Aoi again, and just like that being what pushes him to hit the button and allows Playmaker to beat the big triple head thing. I forget the name. That was a real nice bit, and I liked it, and it builds you up. Like, you've already got that idea of sacrifice, of loss. All of that is now in your head as you watch as the character I think we all want to succeed and be okay the most just has to go, and he just goes out like a hero. And again, considering where this character started, just a guy interested in doing his own thing, it felt like a nice combination of both Emma and Akira's deaths. That idea of his arc coming to a close. He's now ready to do the ultimate right thing and sacrifice himself, while also having his last thoughts being of the people he cares about being able to save the day and survive. So, all in all, is this maybe my favorite death in Yu-Gi-Oh? Probably not. I think there are a couple others that stand out more, had more drama to them, and affected me more. Again, part of it is that I feel like the AIs could come back at any point, so I don't think it really has the resonance of either a more permanent death or a death that has a lot more emotion behind it. But all in all, I think it's a very nice death and a very nice send-off to probably the best character in the whole show. Let's hope you don't drag us down, Yusaku, you fucking motherfucker. So anyways, ending off this video, as always, it is time to do the TCG question of the week. And this week, we are talking about Mystic Mine. It's time to finally bring that up. Mystic Mine Burn, if I'm correct, won a huge-ass regional in the Midwest, I think. It also did top several of the national tournaments going on in Europe. Now, some Yu-Gi tubers are really against this card, like Simo, and he should probably stop whining for 5 minutes. Some seem to be a little more on the indifferent side, like MCOL40. I don't know if anyone is necessarily for this card existing unless they want to use it themselves, but for the most part, this card is pretty disliked. I have got to say I'm probably more on the MCOL40 indifferent ranging to dislike side, and that is that, well, it's been a while since Burn's been a thing, and even though, yes, I kind of wish it was a different version of Burn than this, let it be around for a little bit. To be honest, I'm sort of getting sick of everything in the game revolving around monster effects, so something to kind of shake things up for a little bit I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Is the deck obnoxious? Oh, fuck yes. Do I hope it's not around too long? Oh, definitely. But you know what? For a couple of months, I only have one more regional. It's this Saturday. And if I face it once or twice, whatever. But again, if I don't get my Nats invite, I'm not going to go to Nats. So what do I fucking care? I know that I should probably have a better opinion, but that's honestly what I think. Give it its 5 minutes and let it be known in the future as that annoying burn deck that existed that one time. But tell me what you think about it below. Do you think it needs to go? Do you think maybe this will be the thing that gets its Harpy's Feather Duster off the ban list? Tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week for the epic conclusion between Angry Guy versus bigger, angrier dude.